that's adrenaline. The adrenaline's got to be through the roof, Austin. I mean, you've got to manage it, right? Like I could see you coming down every second that goes by after getting out of that car.
Yeah, your adrenaline is definitely through the roof when you hop out of the hatch of a Chevrolet SS Nitro funny car. But I always say when I get out of that race car, I feel like I could knock out Mike Tyson. You're just electric. You're so jacked up, especially when that wind light comes on. And that's one thing I love about driving an NHRA Nitro funny car.
Yes, exactly. So, wire-to-wire clobber job by Brian Lohnes should be protected at all costs. Everybody saying congratulations to you out there, the success from this weekend. But it was a big weekend for other reasons. We'll talk about that. Point standings, though, looking at the points, you're not going to say it's over. It's not over. Jack Beckman's 185 out, but nobody wants to see like you be kidnapped and put in a shed somewhere so you can't go to the next two races. So you could lose that regular season points lead. But now it's about, I don't know, managing it, keep doing what you're doing, not thinking about $150,000 bonus money to John Force Racing. But that's a pretty big deal. You'll be the first ever.
Yeah, it would be great to end up with that regular season championship. And not to correct you, but after Jack's center line crossing, he lost, I believe, 30 points. So I think we have a 205 or 203 point lead over Matt Hagan. He moved into second. So that was some unfortunate things happened for my teammate. But, at the end of the day, we're competing, and I was glad to extend our points lead there. That's a pretty substantial lead going in with two races left, but it's not over. As I always say, until we're holding that check, holding the trophy, it's not over. And after that, we have a lot of work to do as well. So I hope we can end up with the regular season championship points and money. That would be great for our company, great for our team. They crowned that champion at the Cornwall Tools U.S. Nationals. So if we could get the job done there, that would be really special for our sponsor, Cornwall Tools.
Statistics read on WFO Radio come from one of the major websites, which one I will not say right now, but let's hope it gets corrected very, very soon. All right, let's talk about eliminations. So Hagan stole number one qualifier in that last session, which was wild. But first round, you got to go up against Cruz Pedregon, and you run 383. But the number to me that mattered was 340. The win light matters, but now we're really seeing the normalization of 340 miles per hour. That was a big run. Your dad said kind of just an after effect. Wasn't really going for that. A little faster than he had expected.
Yeah, we got thrown a bone with the conditions there in Pomona. Sonoma, excuse me. The air was really good, and the track conditions matched the air essentially. So, that was awesome. But like you said, we're not going up there trying to run 340 miles an hour. It just kind of produces itself when everything works right. And luckily, this Prock rocket makes a lot of horsepower, and we're capable of doing that. So that was an outstanding run. I had my hands full that run. That thing, I stood on the gas, and it drove me straight to the center line. And I had a lot of wheel in it by the Christmas tree, and that's typically not a good sign in a nitro funny car because you're accelerating so fast in those few hundredths of a second. If you get the car, out of balance, essentially, it's much more prone to smoking the tires. And the tire got really nervous when I was feeding it wheel, but I was able to get it back in the middle of the groove, and the thing took off and obviously made a great run. But that one definitely felt fast. When you're behind the race car right like that, and you're trying to process where you're at on the racetrack, what the tire's doing, you're making your brain is functioning so fast in hundredths of a second, even thousandths of a second. It really makes that race car feel quick.
Yeah, that was one in the media center. You kind of did a version of what you did right there. And with all the explanation, it's kind of hard to understand that you went as quick and as fast as you did, right? Like you got it to the lock, and still it's fast. So what if it was a straight run, or is that even possible? Because the weight, I can see the weight shifting around from behind the car, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this thing is still hooked up. What's up with that? And then a 340 comes on the board.
Yeah, it probably would have run a little bit quicker and a little bit faster. It wouldn't have been exponential, maybe a few thousandths of a second on ET and maybe a few points of mile an hour. Like maybe it would have cracked 340 flat. You know what I'm saying? Like everything's happening so quick. Obviously, the straightest way down the racetrack is the most efficient, and we probably ran 1,015 feet that run.
Now, not to start anything, but Brittany told us a couple of weeks ago that she was annoyed that you were the fastest and that she wanted to come back and become the fastest. And now she has come back and become the fastest. I know it has something to do with the aerodynamic devices and the air deflectors and all things associated. But and 343 feels a little bit out there for you to be able to rally back. But what say you?
Yeah, I mean, I told her after we ran 341 miles an hour, you know, that was obviously great for us, but we all knew how close her and David Grubnick were to, you know, just absolutely clobbering our speed record. And when she ran 341.58 or whatever, she was a few points slower than us. I told her, I'm like, it's a matter of time, and you're going to be doing this run after run, and you're going to take the spot. So I was just happy that I had it for, you know, at least a few weeks or a few months, whatever it was.
Well, it was amazing, and it was electric, and it was like, that's the best of drag racing on that given night. Like, that's what we got. That's our sport. Great crowd. They were lit like in multiple ways.
Yeah.
And they pitted you guys right in a different location. People at home maybe don't know how the pits are laid out. This year, they laid the pits out very differently than in previous years. And John Force Racing was right at the exit of the grandstands. And so I am sure you were swamped with fans in a way that you aren't normally. Like, you normally got big crowds, but this was different.
Absolutely. All weekend long. I never had so many people at the back of my pit. I mean, they were yelling my name all weekend, and, you know, they'd be like, Austin. And then my crew guys would go, sucks. And so that was like the running joke this weekend, which was pretty funny. You know, always the guys, they always humble me. But yeah, it was really cool to see how many people were out there. It was, I walk up to the starting line every run, and, you know, I would walk through the crowd, this massive crowd, all the way up to the starting line. And I'd get to the starting line, and I look up in the grandstands, and there wasn't a seat open. So yeah, that was, as a professional race car driver, that's one of the coolest things to see, is just a packed house and everybody excited to see what's going to go down.
So many things we could unpack there. There were multiple times where I saw Brittany just like in the crowd, and people were not being weird about it. It's just like drag racing, right? Like, there's a couple of fans, there's Brittany Force, there's Austin Prock, Tony Stewart just walking around, not with a mob of crazies, like desperate to clip a lock of hair, nothing weird like that. It's just, drag racing is so cool compared to the other sports for the behavior of most fans. I'm sure there are a couple that get nutty, but I didn't see it.
Yeah. Most of the fans are always very respectful, and obviously we love when they gas us up. You know, when you're walking through a crowd and they're yelling their name and running up to get it, you know, a young kid running up to get an autograph, like that's why we are NHRA Drag Racing. That's why we're so different, is every ticket is a pit pass. You can literally come up and shake my hand at almost any point of the day. So that's one thing we definitely pride ourselves as NHRA race car drivers.
It is wild.